how do you take these journal entries, which were quickly written down to record the transactions, and find the balances, and that's where this general ledger comes in. And so here's how we're going to do it. So we'll take this first one. Cash 24,000. Now you'll notice it's a debit. So what we're going to do is come over here, and underneath the cash account, there's two sides, the left side and right side. And the left side is going to be the debit, just like over here. And we're going to put in 24,000 into cash. Oops. I gotta figure out what's going on. Okay, so there's that 24,000. Zoom in a little bit. And by the way, if you guys have any ideas on how to better show this, I'm absolutely open to it. I'm not thrilled with the setup, but okay. Now the other half of the transaction down here, make that one say green. Common stock. So we're going to go down to common stock and put in 24,000.
When we're like when we turn in this handout,
Mhm.
do you want all these general ledgers filled out? Because I'm just writing it down on a piece of paper. Do you want me to fill it out too as we go?
You can make T accounts on them if you want to use like cash or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fine. Quite honestly, the only ones that are going to be very long are going to be the cash one's going to be the biggest one, obviously. Almost everything goes through cash. And the accounts payable might be a little bit longer, but the rest of these will mostly be one or two entries. So the cash one is probably the biggest one. But yeah, yeah, there's absolutely nothing wrong with the notebook. I can find what I do with mine. Oh, nice and blurry. Yeah, I mean, and back in my day. That's not focusing very well. Where's my focus? Where's my focus dot? See, focus dot works. Yeah, I mean, you just for any of these, you can just have lines and everything else.
That's what I'm doing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. Okay. Okay, so we just take each one of these, and what this is called is posting. I'm going to type that in here. So they call this posting. And posting can be done, it can be done daily, it can be done monthly or whatever. It just depends on your system. Nowadays, with it done electronically, most likely Postman every day. Okay, so we'll just go through each of these and do do something here. I know, I'll make all the cash one yellow. Alongside here. All right. Again, you don't need to worry too much about what the accounts are just yet. I mean, there's unearned revenue, that's a liability we talked about. Expense. I didn't realize they had 27200 down here. It's unfortunate. Shouldn't have done that. Yeah, so this one is paying off the accounts payable. Or some of them anyway. Depreciation expense, we haven't really talked about too much. And accumulated depreciation, we'll talk about a little bit today. This is actually going against the equipment. I'll show you when we get to it. This journal entry is a little bit interesting in that it supplies expense and supplies. So this is, we've actually used some of the supplies. So the supplies are going to go down by, must use 1,512 of supplies. And so that's when we're expensing them. We used them up. Currently, I have two 2880s in there too. Sure, what I would do in there. Okay, now it's prepaid rent is rent we paid ahead of time. And with an asset. Down here, we earned some of these revenues, the unearned revenues. We've earned some of them now. So we're going to take them out of the unearned revenue. And put them into the regular revenue. And we used up some of our rent. 432. And we have rent expense. Okay, so what I've done, we've done is taken all of these journal entries, and then what we call posting, we posted them over to our general ledger. Okay, so all of the journal entries are now posted into this thing here. So what we're going to do is we're going to add up both sides of the cache. And we're going to see, let's see, we can see which side wins. In other words, which side is the highest, and then we go from there. So,
I can give you the totals.
oh, okay.
I already posted it all on the trial balance.
Okay.
I'm fast with computers. It's 34,440.
Okay.
And the credit side is 22,032.
All right, and then as you already posted it, the trial balance, you know that the what is that? 12,408. Is that right?
Oh, the difference?
Yeah.
I didn't do the difference yet.
Okay. Let me check.
Is that supposed to be the difference between the two totals?
Yeah. So like these, let's go ahead and do them all. So you add up all the debits and credits, and then I'll say the biggest side always wins. In other words, whatever you subtract them, whatever side has the highest number, that's what it's going to be. So in this case, it's going to be a debit. And I don't know if that number is right. So 34. 12,400. Yeah, that is right. Okay. So this is the number that we're going to use on the as the ending balance for it. That's a little bit confusing. Let me get you. So this is the number for the cash.
So would that be the number on the trial balance, or would that be the number on like the assets when we're putting it in the financial statement?
This will be the number of the trial balance.
Oh, okay. I just kind of added them all in, and it.
Yeah, it'll still balance, but we're really looking for the actual the last. This just the ending number that we're looking for.
Oh,
And again, the point of the general ledger is that if someone asks how much cash is there, you can go, oh, well, there's 12,408. Whereas looking at the journal entries, you probably have no idea what was in there. And cash is the hardest. It is actually the most involved of these two to do, as you can imagine. Virtually everything goes through cash at some point. Okay, the equipment. Well, say some of these, there's only one number, so Which camera do I have? Okay. That can't be right. Hold on. I did something wrong here. 1728.
It's 1296.
Thank you. Revenue, there's only one number. And if you look though, you know, this is why revenues are always credits. There's nothing over here on the debit side. Okay, so what we've done is taken each account and getting it down to one number. And just so you know, this is a company that just started out. You know, so the common stock, 21,000, that's the only common stock they have. So that was, you know, part of the original opening of the company. So what we're going to do now is take all of these numbers and put them down here. So cash will be 12,408. I gotta have somebody checking these off. I know, I'll make it a. Ooh. That's fine. Okay, so we have cash. I don't know if we go here, equipment, 28,800. Oh, this is a kind of a fun new one, and that is accumulated depreciation. These two accounts go together. And we'll see why next chapter, but anyway, what we're saying is this equipment really isn't worth 28,800, it's worth 28,800 minus this depreciation. So coming down here, so 2880, and notice that the equipment is a debit, this committed depreciation is a credit. Yeah, and these two again, they kind of, we're going to go together. All right. Fine. 648. Okay, revenue. 10,224. Excuse me. sure that is it. One thing that you sometimes is good to do is just to count them. There's 15 there. 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 I must have miscounted. I got 16. Oh, no, you know what? Here. Oh, I know why. Retained earnings. So retained earnings is actually 0. Oops, oops, oops. Do that. So retained earnings, and if you think about it, if this is the first year, you don't have any years to retain, you know, there's no earnings from last year to retain. All right, now for the tricky part. And I think I might take your you don't want his text. You're probably in his text. I know what to do. Let's see if that works. Nope. I had to convert them into amounts. All right. They're working out. Yeah. All right. Enough goofing around here. Go ahead and add it up. I know there's a way to convert text to numbers, but okay. We'll do it the old-fashioned way. Okay, now this other side should be going to be exactly the same. That's right. Bah! I did something wrong.
Yeah, I see where it is. The right number is right. Your supplies expense is $1,512 instead of 512.
Ah, thank you. Good eyes. So this is 50,000. But this, this is kind of why, one of the reasons why we do it is to make sure that you have the numbers correct in there. And if this doesn't balance, if the trial balance doesn't balance, then the financial statements aren't going to balance. So, you know, if, like, again, you know, if this doesn't balance it, so sometimes students will get to this point and it won't balance, and you know, you need to get this to balance before anything else does. Okay, I'm going to go a little bit into troubleshooting, just because this is actually used in accounting a lot. How to find things. Now, if you look through, you know, obviously, if you're doing this, you look through and see if there's any obvious errors. If you really can't find them, you may start looking for transposition errors, and here's how you find those. Let me give you an example. Let's say that I entered 576 instead of saying entering as 576. I entered it as 756. Okay. So we would have an error there of 180. A little small 180. Okay, so let's say that I entered instead of and so you come up with an error of 180. If it can be cleanly divided by 9, it comes out to be a whole number. It's most likely a transposition error. You know, it's most likely that you have something like this. Not 100%, but if it comes out nice and clean, that a whole number, if you divide it by 9, it's most likely a transposition. So, you know, for now, so if you look up here, you're out by 180. There's nothing on here for 180. If you divide it by 9, it could be a transposition error. Another thing, if you have it on the wrong side, for instance, notice what would happen if I had this utilities expense instead of being here, if I had it over here. You know, so as I'm doing this, I would notice that this side would be too high by 576, and this side would be too low by 576. So if you pay, so the error would be a total of twice that. Whatever that is, 1152. So sometimes if you find an error, so here's your error. You say, well, there's nothing on here for this amount. This is, there's nothing there for 1,152. Divide it by 2. And that might give you the number. Oh, wait a minute. This is, oh, that's not, that shouldn't go there. That should go over here. So, if you don't see the number on there, divide it by 2, and it might be that you have a debit as a credit or vice versa. Okay. So once we get this to balance, we can then go to the financial statements. And if you have it like this, you can cut and paste. Wait a minute, I got a line going through my, take that line out. Okay, so revenue is, let's just do the accounts here. And by the way, you'll also notice something here. And this is usually the way you see the trial balance. The first section is usually the balance sheet. The ending section here is usually the income statement. And a lot of times the stuff in the middle will either be retained earnings or also on the balance sheet as far as, like the common stock would actually be on the balance sheet. But the retained earnings would be on the statement of retained earnings. And if there's any dividends, those would be in there too. Oops. So balance sheet, income statement at the bottom, and in the middle, retained earnings. If there were any dividends in here, that would be in there too. Okay. I'm going to take all the formatting out of here. All right, so here's our net income. Statement retained earnings is a little bit tricky because retained earnings is 0. We have our net income. Don't think we had any dividends. We did not. had some, we would have. The ending retained earnings is really just the what the net income is. Okay, balance sheet, we have our assets. And this is the new tricky one here. This accumulated depreciation will be subtracted. This is our first, I think this is the first, what's called contra account. In other words, it goes against another account. In this case, it's a contra asset. But so what we're going to do is add all these up and then subtract out that. So this is the tricky one here. This is subtracted out. And we'll learn why next week. Okay, liabilities. Equity would be our common stock. Wow, copy it. What am I doing here? I'm supposed to be lazy. 13. Hey, hey. And so that's it. So this is what we've done here is taken from the journal entries all the way to the financial statements. And the financial statements really tell this much more of the story. You know, if you're wondering why we do financial statements, it's because simply looking at these numbers up here, say, you know, it's very hard to see how well a company is doing looking at this. I mean, you get some information, but it's not in a form that jumps right out at you and tells you how well they're doing. Whereas down here, you can say, okay, you know, are they profitable? Yes, they're profitable. You know, they have this, they put money back in the business. Yep. How'd they get all those assets? Well, they borrowed 13,000. The owners kicked in 26,000, and that's how they got. You know, how'd they get all this stuff here? They borrowed 13,752. The owners kicked in 26,520. And again, it's almost, you know, you don't get that from the trial balance, and you sure don't get that from here. Looking at it here, trying to determine if they're profitable, looking at the journal entries would be nearly impossible. Certainly take you a long time to do it, you know, so that's it. So that is a cycle. Question on that thing?
Nope.
Okay. Well, that is it for tonight. So, oh, that's not me. That's my click up here. That's not me either. Hey, I'm back. Whatever happened to me? All right, so that's the accounting cycle, and that's how kind of this is all connected. Journal entries are very quickly writing down, and you know, you'll notice that the journal entries, they really are just recording the transaction. You know, it's a fast way of recording the transaction. You don't need a calculator for it. Just, you know. So journal entries are, and this way, no, but most journal entries are fairly quick and easy like that. You don't need a calculator or anything to enter those. As you get into the financial statements and, you know, the general ledger and all that, a little more. But even there, it's just, for the most part, it's just adding and subtracting. You know, the math in accounting, 95+% of it is just plus minus. I mean, it's not a terribly math intensive. You know, it's kind of viewed as that way. It's not really. Any questions? None? Okay. Well, if you have any questions, you can go ahead and email me too. If you want to do another one of these, I have no problem doing it. And I can also send one out that would have, you know, the solutions to it and that. But I usually just do one of these in a class. And then I give you one on the test. It's open book, obviously, and all that. It tends to be a little bit tedious to do this. You know, we're not going to do 5 of these. You know, there's no reason to. It's basically, it's tedious just transferring the numbers over, getting the trial balance to balance. That can be a little bit tricky, but the financial statements, most people, you know, that's a breeze from chapter 1. So, but if you have any questions on it, next class we're going to go over a thing called the classified balance sheet, and that'll be it for chapter 4. And so I'll probably send out a test probably after next class. This is Wednesday. tomorrow's Thursday. Right? Yeah, I'll send it out and make it that it'll be due a week from whenever. So I know I asked this earlier. I can't remember who was here, but are there any questions on the Chapter 2 exam? Okay, well, and if you have any questions, you can email me or text me. My number's in the Blackboard, and text me or call me if I'm near to the phone, which I'm not right now. I'll pick up, but if not, if you leave a message, I can get it.